Hey y'all, it is a new day in the workroom, and we are reviewing RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 8, Episode 6. That's so many titles, child. It's also a rough day in the workroom. I skipped my weekly haircut, child, so it's giving this. Please bear with me. This episode was the Rusical, which I typically don't enjoy, but I really liked this Rusical. I really liked this episode. I was up because it drops at like 3 a.m. Eastern time in on Paramount Plus. So I literally just stayed up to watch it because it was like whatever. It was Thursday. Next day was Friday. Who cares? I was working from home. And baby, I was tired as hell, but like I was up screaming and gagging at this episode. But we're gonna get into it. It was the unauthorized Rusical of what's her name? So it's the unauthorized Rusical of Joan Crawford. That's what I thought the name was. I hope y'all don't take my gay card during Pride Month because I don't really know Joan Crawford. Like everything I know about Joan Crawford is from Drag Race references because I feel like they reference Joan Crawford every season. So I apologize to anybody that offends, but I don't know the reference. It was really good. Like I was saying, I typically don't like the Rusicals, but I will say the one that they did on the last season of Drag Race, like regular Drag Race, too many numbers, so I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but that Rusical was good, and then this one was really good. So I think that they're progressively getting better, and I enjoyed it. And even had like a little intro part. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. We get to the workroom. They go through the votes. I mean, at the end of the day, last week was when Heidi went home. I try to think like what would the girls have done in the challenge. I don't know if Heidi would have been really good in the Rusical. I don't think she would have been bad, but she probably would have been just fine. I don't know. I just always think about it because think about last season when Lucy LaDuca went home before the Rusical episode. So I just be thinking about stuff like that. Even though Heidi's gone, this was such a good episode. Like for whatever reason, it just felt like the energy in the workroom was a little bit more fun. Like I don't know if the girls were like, okay, let's get off of this kind of like negative streak, but it just seemed like more fun. It was a much more fun episode, so I enjoyed it. I do want to say like the editing on this episode was really good too, because I feel like we all know like in Drag Race fandom, like they'll edit episodes a certain kind of way, like when they start off with a queen, which did technically happen, but I didn't realize until I watched it back. I watched the episode twice. When they start off with a queen, like talking about how they're gonna do this week, or like how they did last week, or what their goals are for this week, it typically means that that queen is gonna be like in the top or in the bottom, or it's gonna be some type of story there. And obviously, the big like narrator for this beginning of the episode was KANDY. I'm saying that the editing was good because I feel like everybody kind of had a little bit of that. KANDY had a little bit more, but I think we got to get into every single character individually, kind of. So I really didn't know where this episode was going, but maybe that was just me. Also, maybe it's because we have 7 queens left, so we have a little bit more time to spread around amongst the queens. So I just thought it was good. Like, the timing of the episode was good, the editing was good. It wasn't predictable. I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, who the hell would have predicted that KANDY was going to win the Rusical? Exactly. What I really was thinking though, even from last week when we got the preview, I'm like, oh, the Rusical, like, okay, this is gonna be Alexis Michelle's shot to like get her, her win, because we get that as well in the Drag Race fandom. Like, we kind of watch the seasons and we're like, well, damn, this queen is doing pretty well. They're doing fine, but they haven't won any challenges. But we know those challenges that they can win. So obviously, when I saw that the Rusical was coming up, I'm like, okay, well, finally, like Alexis can get the win that she's been wanting to get, but gag. So I really liked the intro part that they did to the Rusical, like where they were just kind of like welcoming the girls in, like this is the show, this is what we're about to do for you. You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the true life story of Joan Crawford. I liked that. I feel like I learned a lot about Joan Crawford too, like just from the references and the jokes and the kikis and even Faye Dunaway. Like I'm like, okay, I'm understanding. Like without taking my gay card, I think that I can get like the Sparks notes on Joan Crawford and Faye Dunaway. Like great. I like that Michelle made a note too, like during her critiques, like with Lala, because I was watching the intro. I could literally watch that now just over and over because it was so good. And even Lala, like with the head moves, like she was in it, and I really didn't expect. I didn't expect her to do bad, but I didn't expect her to eat it. So I was like, great. So Kahana starts it out. I think that Kahana did really good. She obviously she did way better than I expected. We know that Kahana is not an actress, and I don't know that we've seen. I don't think we saw Kahana in a Rusical in her original season. So it's really fun too. I will say that if I'm not mistaken, it's fun to see Kahana in this season do the Snatch Games and the Rusical for the first time and do fine. Like, she didn't do a great job, obviously, in the Snatch Game, but she wasn't the worst that I've ever seen. And then even in the Rusical, like I said, I don't remember if she's done one before. I don't think she has, but she did fine. So I'm happy to see that. Like, it's fun to see queens come back and do stuff like that. So Kahana did way better than I expected her to do. However, I do think that her energy started to get a little bit low. Like, when it started out, it kind of was like, okay, I'm starting, I'm getting the footing, I'm trying to do it. And then it got better. I wish I could pinpoint what point, but it was getting better. And I was like, okay, like, I literally felt myself watching Kahana like come on, come on. And it got better, but then the number was way longer than I expected it to be, for one. And then two, it just felt like the energy started to dwindle at that point. Like, she wasn't really giving. Like, at the end of the day, the vocals were really good. The choreography was good, but like the judges said, like, her face definitely was not connected. Like, it just kind of, it felt so flat. And I think that's what we've been getting from Kahana in all these challenges. Like, she's not great at these things, but I think she could have excelled in a lot of different things throughout these weeks if she had given more energy and given more face and given more expression. So I think if she worked on that note, I don't want to say it's a small thing, because it's, when you're performing, she's probably in her head a lot. So if she had worked on that, I think that she would eat it. But I think that she did a really good job. We get on to James Mansfield. I kind of said the same thing that I said with Kahana. Like, James did fine. Like, a trend that I've been seeing this season is that James will do fine. And I'm always sitting here wondering, like, does James feel like James is doing, like, going above and beyond? Like, because I don't know. It just always feels like it's just enough. Like, I don't know if James is really pushing it. It always just feels like it's like, okay, like, yeah, it's the funny that we expect from James, but it's not like cracking me up. Like, you're not really pushing the boundary of like performing and being funny. So I don't know. Like, that's just always the issue I have with James when I'm watching these challenges. I'm like, is she really trying? But I think that she did good. I won't even say fine. Like, she did good. She hit all the notes. Even her recording, like, I was excited because when the episode started, she was excited. So I'm like, okay, maybe she's finally gonna tap in this episode. Maybe she's gonna really push it. Maybe just like Alexis, like, this is her challenge and this is something that she can win. But it just didn't end up giving that. Like, even when she recorded though, I'm like, oh, she's gonna eat it. And the way that the edit showed it, like, the girls were gagging at the way that she recorded it. They're like, oh, that's really good. Like, so it's just like, you didn't know which way it was going to go, but then she came out and performed and it felt really flat. Like, and she had these like punchline moments in the performance where you would think like, oh, I could be cracking up laughing at this. And it was just like, and then it will like happen again. And you're like, huh? Like, it just could have been so much funnier. And I wish that it was. I don't know. Again, I'm not familiar with James. So I know who James is, but I'm not familiar with James's like performances and her drag and her comedy and her humor and all that stuff. So I don't know if this is like James, like, this is what James gives, this is like the ceiling for James, or if James can go a little bit further. But the way I see it watching this season, I'm like, James is funny as hell. Like, James was an early favorite for me, so I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm under the impression that James can be funnier, and I'm under the impression that James can camp it up more and do more and give more. But Kandy ate it. Like, I was gagged. That's what I'm saying about the editing. Like, when Kandy auditioned, I was like, and then when Kandy recorded, I was like, and then even in the dance rehearsals, I'm like, so, you know what I'm saying? But I still didn't get the impression, maybe I'm missing things. Like, I still didn't get the impression that, like, oh, this is a losing edit. Like, they're editing her. I didn't get the impression that it was a losing edit or like a fake out edit, like, oh, she's doing bad, but she's gonna turn it. It just felt like, I don't know, like I was watching all the girls individually this episode to see like what the heck was going to happen. And Kandy turned it. Like she ate it. I couldn't even believe how much she ate it. I was gagging. Like, even when I went back and rewatched it, I'm like, because I love Kandy, so I'm trying not to be biased as I'm watching. So I had kind of toned it down a little bit as I was watching, and I'm like, this is really good. Like, I wrote in my notes immediately, ate it with like 10 exclamation marks. But I'm still like, okay, but everybody else did well as well. But when I went back and watched it, I'm like, she turned that, she devoured that. Like, I don't. I have no notes. And even at the end, when she finished like the song part and she was kind of just doing the dialogue and like transitioning into the next person's part, she ate that. And even like flipping a wig, like I could talk about it all day, but she really ate that. Like no steps missed. The facials were there. The vocals, like it was all just like chef's kiss. She ate that, and it was so unexpected, and I love that. So, period to Kandy. Jessica Wilde, she did really good too. Like she didn't get the part. I think we see a lot in Drag Race, like when the girls don't get the part they want, they kind of just fall to the back. But I love, like Jessica, you can tell is a competitor, like, and she's a professional, and I love that. She hasn't really been wowing me, but I like her. She did a really good job with the part that she didn't even want, and she obviously had the issue saying axe versus ass, which I also have that issue. So, girl, I feel you. Same. It only got better. Like at first it felt like she was being a little bit timid, but then as it went on, like it just got better and better and better. Was it a winning performance compared to the other girls? No, but I think that she did a really good job, and I think that she looked great as well. Lala surprised the hell out of me, as I was kind of like alluding to earlier with Michelle's critiques. Like, because at first when she even chose her part and it was like, oh, the voguing part, I was kind of thinking like, damn, I hope that this isn't like a safe bet for Lala, because Lala kind of gives that. Like, she's an Atlanta girl, and she's like, you could tell that Lala is just like, she's got swag. Like, she's cool. Like, that's what I really like about Lala. Like, her personality is just cool. So, when it comes to like a cool, like, Vogue, film, like choreography type of role, I'm like, yeah, I can see Lala doing that. But then I thought back and I'm like, but bitch, you can't even Vogue. Like, I couldn't even pull that off. So I'm like, I won't say that it's a safe thing. Like, not everybody has the rhythm to Vogue and look fierce and really kill it. And Lala's vocals were great. Like, what she chose to do with her voice and everything when she was recording, it was great. She looked great. This, I'm afraid to say, because I'm like, was this like, because obviously she was trying to play a part. So I'm like, was this kind of like costume makeup for Lala? Because this was like some of the favorite makeup for me that I've seen on Lala, because I typically don't like Lala's makeup. So I was like, she looks great. Like, and she did a great job. I like the slap thing that she did. Like, it was tens across the board. Even if it would have been like a safe bet and something that she kind of had in her back pocket that she could easily do, it was crisp and she looked great. She looked clean. She looked polished. It was a great performance, and you could tell that she was in it. So I really enjoyed it. Like, I put Lala did really good with like 17 O's and good. Like, she ate it. So I'm happy for her as well. Alexis Michelle. Like I said, I wanted this to be her challenge. I did. Like, Alexis is not my fave, but I acknowledge that Alexis is talented as hell. She's just not my fave. And I feel like, before I even say that, like, I wanted this to be her challenge. I did. Because I feel like she's doing well, but there's always somebody, Jimbo, that does a little bit better. So Alexis doesn't get her wins. But I think that she's doing really well. So I wanted her to be able to win this one, because I feel like this was going to be hers, and I feel like she thought it was going to be hers. So I'm like, please just let her have it. Not just let her have it like it's just a giveaway, but it's like, girl, give it to her. Please let this be her time. But I think I've realized my issue with Alexis is that she's the theater girl. We get it. But it feels like she's kind of just, I don't want to say resting, but resting on that. Like, it gives theater. It does. It gives all of that. Like, it looks very professional. It looks like, girl, you know what the hell you're doing. But it feels like it's just theater. I feel like it needs to be theater with drag on top. Like, we need more. We need this much more on top of that theater. Like, it just felt like she was putting on a show, which was great because that's what we were asking you to do. But we're also on RuPaul's Drag Race. So it needs to be dragged up. We need you to give more. We need you to camp it up. And that might be a little bit cringy for her because I know like theater means a lot to her. So maybe she doesn't want to overdo it and take too much away from the character, because we've seen queens in the past, like, they know their character well, right? So when they're portraying a character, they're like, well, I don't want to do too much because that's not what that character gives. Alexis didn't say that, but I'm just wondering if this is where her head is at. So I don't know if she was just like, I want to be on point for the character. And again, I don't necessarily know the reference, but the way that she performed, I would assume like, well, hell yeah, that must be it. Because she knows. If anybody knows, she knows. But on top of that, there just needed to be some more. And I feel like that's what the judges were alluding to when they gave their critiques. I think it was Michelle that was just like, yeah, like Alexis did well, but like, I wish I remembered exactly what she said, but when she said it, I'm like, okay, it seems like the judges are feeling that way too. Or somebody said, it might have been on the pit stop, but it just felt like Alexis is doing what we expect Alexis to do. So it's like, you need to take it a bit further to do what we don't expect you to do. They said it on the pit stop. They're like, Alexis is giving what she gave in her original season, which was professional and theater person. Like, we got that on your original season. It read through. I don't know if she felt like it didn't read through, but it did. Like, we got that. We knew that you were good at what you're doing, but you need to camp it up more. We need more. Like, it just felt so like even as the judges were watching, they were just kind of like, because it just felt like you were watching that school play, and it's just like, this is the star of the play. And also, I kind of gagged because maybe again I was misinterpreting it, but when I heard Rusical, I was thinking of those Rusicals where like sometimes they'll have a lead, and then they'll have like other kind of like smaller parts, or like they'll have like a lead and then the mid level parts and then like smaller parts. It wasn't organized like that. Like this Rusical, I feel like everybody had an equal opportunity to shine. The numbers were long as hell, and like they all were really good. Honestly, they were all enjoyable. They all had really good parts. So I feel like every queen had such a good opportunity to shine and even win this challenge, honestly. I was thinking like, oh, well, when Alexis comes in, she's going to want the lead role. But as they were reading over the parts, there was no lead role. But even still, like, she still had a great opportunity to win. She still had a great part. I'm happy that she chose a challenging part on purpose, and she nailed it, but it just wasn't, it could have been even funnier. Like, even with the small note that she got when she was recording, remember they told her like, lean into that, like play like as if you're out of breath because you're doing this part that's super fast. So when she was doing the choreography and she's moving fast and doing fast like lip syncing, she didn't even really give the like thing that she did in the vocals. Like, she didn't act that out. Like, she didn't lean into it. It just gave like, I'm performing. So it was good. It was pretty. It was polished, but it just needed to be more camp. I wish she would have gave more, because this really could have been hers. Like, it really could have. I know sometimes it's like I'm reading Alexis, but I really did want her to win to win this challenge, because I know she wanted to win it. Amongst other challenges she wanted to win, I'm like, this is the one. Like, come on, girl. But lastly, we get to Jimbo, the one that I was afraid of. Obviously, we've been getting this story where it's like, the girls are threatened by her, but they don't want to admit it. And now we're afraid that she'll get voted out because she's doing well. And she has 3 wins, 2 of which are consecutive. She's coming off it from last week. So I was very nervous. We didn't really get much of her like vocal recording, but it sounded really cool. Like, what she chose to do, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, I'm like, oh, what she's doing with her voice is very creative. Like, I wonder if she came up with that, or if maybe like they auto-tuned it or something like that. But like, listening to what she decided to do, I thought was really cool and creative. So I think that also saved her a little bit now that I'm thinking back on it. When she went into the choreography, it wasn't awful. And again, I'm not a girl that dances either, so I feel you. And she had already come off like crying because she was losing her lip syncs. That also gagged me because I didn't think she cared about that. But she cares about losing her lip syncs. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, You kind of don't have no rhythm, girl. Neither do I. Same. So it's just like I was worried. I was so worried. Like I said, like it would be good TV for them to send her home, but I don't want that type of TV. Like I don't want my girl to go home. So I was worried, but I think that she did well. Like I kind of watched all the girls like this. So I'm watching her like, especially because she went last and I think she had the most to lose this episode. And she did well. Like I really didn't see her slip. I wasn't looking to give her any grace. Like, had she messed up really badly, I was going to say she messed up badly. But I think she did really well. I think that she was engaged. I think that she was hitting the choreography. She obviously wasn't like boom, boom, cat, cat, ka, 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 ka. But she was hitting the choreography. It was kind of cringy watching her do the monkey thing because she really wasn't getting that. But it was better than it was in rehearsal. I do also think, though, she needed to lean into her character. Like, that's my note for a lot of the queens. Like, the choreography did for everybody. It seemed like it was challenging. The lyrics were challenging. Like, it was a challenging musical. It was really good. So I think that a lot of them were kind of in their head, with the exception of Kandy and Lala and Alexis Michelle. I would say the other almost half of them were just more so in their head trying to get it done. Still did well, but really needed to lean into the character more and have a little bit more fun. Alexis's note wasn't to lean in, it was just to be a little bit more camp. She was leaned in, she was in it, but she needed to be more camp. And Jimbo needed to lean in and be funny. Just be funny, like don't be worried. You could tell that she was worried about doing well. I think she did well, but she needed to lean in. So now we're going to get to the runway. The category is Night of 1,000 Grace Jones. My bell is ringing. That just triggered me because I had every intention on like ordering Uber Eats and recording this video and then my Uber Eats being here. But I was like, let me wait because I don't really know what I want to eat. So I don't even know what just got delivered, but it definitely wasn't the Shake Shack that I can taste right here. So we get to the runway. It is Night of 1,000 Grace Joneses. And I'm excited for this. Also, I obviously know who Grace Jones is, but I'm not necessarily familiar with all her looks. So even as I'm looking at the looks, I really don't know like what they're trying to invoke. I'm obviously happy that they give us the reference photo. So first we have Alexis. I loved it. I really did. Like I think she looked great. This is different from what Alexis ever does, and I think, oh my god, it was just so cringy for me because I'm like, I know she knows she ate this runway, and I feel like she thinks like this is her week, but like it just wasn't her challenge. Like it really wasn't. It really wasn't. I probably would put her in third, honestly, for the challenge, but we'll get back to that. But the runway, she ate it. I will say I feel like the top part is a little too big. Just a little. Like I get that it's oversized on Grace as well, but like the fit of it just looks like it's a tiny smidge too big. And that's just if I had to give any notes at all. But she looks fantastic. Her makeup looks fantastic. I love seeing her with the bald. Her face looks amazing. Her bone structure. She looks great. So I think Alexis did a really good job, and this is a great look. These are not in any particular order. Jimbo, I liked this look. I mean, when she came out, I did feel like something was missing, and it was her breastplate, because obviously we know Jimbo does a large breastplate, but I didn't even really clock it until she got to the back of the runway, like at the end, because I'm like, something is off here. Something is missing. Like, it was missing that, like, Jimbo-esque type thing, and I think it was, like, the breastplate of it all. However, I liked it because it was different for her, because I mean, I've never really seen her without a breastplate and doing any type of look like this. If that was intentional and that was supposed to be the note, like, look at my versatility, look what I can do. I wish that she would have leaned into that more and talked about it a little bit more. I think it would have gave her more brownie points because she looks gorgeous. Like, even with the hat made out of hair, like that's a good choice. Like that's a good it's a good look. Like, she looks great. How she's cinched at the waist, the shoe, the makeup looks great. Like, everything on her looks great. It just looks different from what we would expect. So I think it's missing that wow factor because it doesn't have the Jimbo wow that we would expect. But I think it's still a really good look. And I wish she would have linked into it and said, well, look, I'm doing something different. But, you know, Jessica Wilde looked amazing. Even when she came out, like, I looked at the reference photo, it kind of went kind of fast for me. So I was struggling with trying to connected. And even when they gave her the note about the sleeves, because they're like, well, Grace didn't have sleeves and you added sleeves, I couldn't remember because the reference photo was gone. So I couldn't, in terms of the look itself, I liked it. In terms of the comparison to the reference, I couldn't really decide because it went too quickly. But as I look at it, I think it's amazing. I'm understanding that most of the girls, if not all, they took Grace Jones like looks, but they made them into their own looks. That's what I like. Like they incorporated Grace Jones into their own looks. And it obviously was like, I think it was more of an incorporation than it was an imitation for a lot of them. And so I like the fact that she did that. I think this color looks amazing. I'm not really a purple girl. I don't love purple. I think this color looks amazing on her. Her makeup looks amazing. I like that she added the sleeves, the holes that she added. I love. Like, I think it's a great look. Even if she had left it like Grace's, though, she would have looked fantastic. But I appreciate the fact that she just incorporated the look, made it her own. And she looks fantastic. I love it. I have notes for her, Kahana. Like, she looks great, obviously, but she has been doing the showgirl thing a lot. I get that that's her aesthetic, and we're on All Stars, and you want to show your aesthetic. I get it, but I want more versatility from Kahana. But that being said, she looks fantastic. Like, the headpiece is amazing. I think this is some of my favorite makeup that I've seen on her. The dress is amazing. I do wish that the tail part was black like Grace's was. Even if she would have, because it looks like the fabric, like the black shiny, I mean the red shiny fabric is extending down in the dress, and then it just has petals on it. Maybe even if like the petals would have just been black, or maybe the whole thing. I don't know. I'm not a drag queen. I haven't really done it, but I've been trying to picture it ever since I watched the episode. Like, would that have been cute if it was black? Because I just wish that it was black. I don't know. I think that that would have really turned it for me. And maybe even if the gloves were black, like, it's almost just too much red, and it just kind of feels a little bit too much. I think it's leaning more into the showgirl thing because it's so much red. It's so much same, as opposed to having the contrast, that the level of contrast that Grace Jones had in hers with the more black. So maybe if the gloves had been black, or if the petals had been black, or if the tail altogether had been black, I wish that she had played with that a little bit more. And I think that that would have elevated the look more for me. But she looks amazing. The headpiece is crazy. That's great. And her makeup. I didn't love this when Kandy came out. I didn't hate it either. The only thing was, I'm like, it's just a similar silhouette that I've been seeing with Kandy. And I love Kandy. And Kandy is a top contender for me. And I can see Kandy winning All Stars. However, I don't want Kandy to win All Stars. And we look back at her catalog of runway looks, and it's almost always the same silhouette, because I can't defend that. But she looks amazing. Again, I'm glad that she more so incorporated Grace's look. I didn't even notice that Grace had the exclamation mark and Kandy made it into a K. I love that. She ate it. Like, this is a great look. It really is. My only note is that it's a similar silhouette. That's literally it. But she looks great. Her makeup, I think, looked amazing. I know a lot of the girls don't love the overdone blush, but I live for it. I wonder if I would have lived for it if she did a fan like Grace did. It wasn't needed, but it's just something that I'm wondering. But I think she did a great job. I'm kind of gagging because I liked this look on James. If you can't tell from my critiques, I like when the girls do something a little bit new. And I think we've been getting a lot of same from James. And even, I don't know if y'all watched Untucked, but even when James went to her section and was like packing her stuff up, there were 45 blonde wigs right there. And I said, are those all James? Ain't no way. And then towards the end of Untucked, when she was done packing, they had disappeared into her suitcase. I'm like, she brought 14 blonde wigs. So it's just like, yeah, this was different. I think, like she said, her hair color was different. Her makeup was different. And I thought she looked great. I did not hate this look. I will agree that the pants were ill-fitting. It was weird that she had a really, like, weird hole in the back of the head thing. And then the shoes, I don't know what to base that off of because I didn't see what shoes Grace Jones had on, but I don't love them on James. If that's what Grace had on, then fine, but I don't love them on James. And the pants, again, are ill-fitting. But other than that, I think that the look, it wasn't awful, but it didn't seem like anybody lived for it at all. So I don't know, but I didn't hate it. And then Lala, I have to agree with the judges. Like, but I didn't clock it until they said it. Like, when she came out, similar to Jimbo, I was like, something's missing. Like, it was fine. but something was missing. I didn't like the makeup. The mask was a little off to me. I know that that's so nitpicky, but the mask was off to me. I wish the mask would have been a little bit more polished and just like I wish the look would have been a little bit more polished. Like if she was gonna dump her money, I know this stuff can be expensive, they say it all the time. But if she was gonna dump her monies into anything, this was going to be it. Like this should have been fantastic because honestly, based off of her performance and the challenge, I think that Lala had a chance of winning this challenge. Honestly, like the girls that we haven't seen win, they had a chance at winning this challenge. And like I said, my top three would have been Kandy, Lala, and Alexis. Period. Like it was between those three for who could have won this challenge. But I think that Kandy just took it the extra mile, definitely with her performance. But she also, I mean, I won't say she had the best runway, but I would say in connection with her performance that week, it was the best runway. If Alexis had performed better, then yes. But Candy's whole package for the week was just so much better. I would have to agree. I'm getting so much further ahead, but I would have to agree with the judges. Like Lala, she had the most potential to look like Grace. And oh my gosh, she could have just done so much more. Like, I think I even would have done a different look. But fine, you want to go with this look? I think she should have dumped more money into it, made it look more expensive. The mask could have looked more expensive. Even the makeup could have looked better. Even Grace had on shades under the mask, so she could have did mask, then shades, then clean beat. And like, I don't know, it just could have like even Grace's like her pictures in black and white, but you can see all of this texture in the look. It doesn't look like Lala has any texture at all in her look. It just looks like black latex. And I don't even like the red. I don't know. I don't even know if that's from the original look. But yeah, it just could have been so much better, and I wish it had because again, like Lala, if she would have came out and ate this runway, she could have won this challenge because they lived for her. Well, she could have won this episode because they lived for her in the challenge. Fame Games looks. I mean, same notes for Monica Beverly Hills. Same note that I have every week. I like Monica. I don't like the looks. I don't. I can tell that she's trying. And I'm not saying that every week just to say it every week. That's just how I feel. My girl is trying, but this is not it. And I'm just not even going to belabor the point. I did not live for this on Naysha. I've been liking Naysha's looks. And I appreciate that she was somebody that incorporated it and made it her own. But low key, I think that the white would have been sickening on Naysha. And I think that would have gave us or me almost something like if she would have did something much closer to what Grace Jones did, that would have gave me something outside of what I've seen Naysha in. This also did ish like with the hair and with the headpiece, but the bodysuit, I'm like, yep, that's Naysha. Like it just felt like that. I even liked her makeup, but it just didn't jump outside the box like I needed it to. This I actually liked on Kasha. I know I've been reading Kasha Davis down, but I actually like this look. I wish it had a tiny bit more silhouette or a tiny bit more structure or a tiny bit more waist because it looks like Grace's is a little bit more cinched up in here. So if she could have cinched it a little bit more, but that's my only note. That's such a tiny note. But I think this is a smart look. I think she ate this. I loved it. This is my favorite look from Kasha thus far. These are Darian's fame games, okay? Like, because at first I wasn't even feeling looking at the fame games. I would forget to even review them. But now that Darian has been doing the fame games for 2 weeks, she has slayed it for the last 2 weeks. This is sickening. Like, this is sickening. And this is also just a reference. And she made it her own. Like, it's sickening. It's better than Grace's. Well, Grace looks sickening. But this is sickening. This is the fame games. Like it's Darian's fame games for me. At the end, we find out that Kandy is the winner, and I have to agree. Especially on the second watch. Like I said, like I don't want to give her too much because Kandy's one of my faves, and I don't want to be biased. But on the second watch, I'm like, she just ate it up, and you can tell that she was just prepared and ready to go in and kill from the jump of the episode. Like even after Rue was like, okay, this is the challenge. Go find your parts. And after they got their parts, Kandy was like, even while they were getting their parts, she's like, this is the only one I want. And Alexis is like, girl. And she's like, girl, this is the only part that I want. And after she got the part, she's like, okay, let's go. Let's get started. So you could tell that Kandy was very serious this entire episode. And I loved that. I want to see the girls compete. Where are the girls that want to compete? So I liked it. She deserved it. She looked great. She did great. Period. Again, I think other contenders could have been Lala if her runway had been better. And then I think it could have been Alexis Michelle if she had camped up her performance more, just wowed us and shocked us a little bit more instead of just, being great. She should have been greater. I would have to agree with the bottoms of Kahana and James. I think Kahana, obviously, because she should have leaned in more. Like the energy just so obviously dwindled, and it just was not in her face the whole time. Her runway was good, but it wasn't as good as the other queens. And then same for James. Definitely same for the runway. Like it was good to me, but it wasn't as good as the other queens. And as you can see from the judges, they didn't live for it at all. And then her performance, it was just regular degular. Like I wish they would give that note. I want to know if that's what they're thinking from James. But it just feels like regular degular. It doesn't feel like she's pushing it. So I would have to agree with the bottoms. I felt guilty because I'm like, maybe should Jimbo have been in the bottom, but maybe if those two weren't there, sure. Like Jimbo is an honorary bottom, sure, I'll give y'all that because I mean she didn't lean into her character as much either. But I think that her runway was really good and it was something different than what we've seen. I just don't think that her confidence was there this episode, so she wasn't leaning in, which obviously isn't okay. But yeah, I would give her like third place bottom, but without that, she's not in the bottom. She's safe, and I'm fine with that. Kandy wins. Kandy lip syncs against Angeria. I'm super excited to see Angeria. Clearly, they got this season on deck because they just had Jasmine Kennedy last episode. So they're just like, come on, girls, come on in. I will say no shade Angeria, but like I don't know when Angeria became a lip sync assassin. Even in Untucked, when she was like, I lip synced twice on my season, I'm like, yeah. And not that the volume of lip syncs makes you a lip sync assassin, but I don't know that I ever felt like I don't know. I just didn't feel like she was a lip sync assassin, but I love her and she looked great and it was fun. I think Kandy definitely ate her up in the lip sync too. Like Kandy ate up the lip sync. Kandy ate up the episode. I wasn't even giving Kandy all of this as I was watching, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm giving it to her. She ate it up. She deserved it. Anybody that says that she didn't deserve it is crazy. She deserved it. And I know that Alexis is pressed, but Kandy ate it up. I'm sorry. Alexis needed to have given more. I wanted you to have it though, girl. I promise I did. What really had me up screaming, because by this time it's 4 o'clock in the morning, I mean, I'm up yelling, running around my apartment. It's the fact that Kandy voted out James. Because I'm like, yes. I hadn't even thought about it because I'm so used now to the girls. Like, whenever they win, I'm used to them losing the lip sync to the lip sync assassin because it's been happening so much. So I wasn't really even thinking about who Kandy would have voted for. And I just kind of assumed that the group would have voted for Kahana. Even though I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, track record, fine, we got to talk track record. Kahana's been in the bottom 3 times, but she has a win. James has been in the bottom twice, and she doesn't have a win. So those are almost neck and neck, in my opinion. At the end of the day, like, those are almost neck and neck. That's just how I feel. James doesn't have a win. I feel like Kahana's win carries much more weight than saying that she's been in the bottom X amount of times. That's just my personal opinion. So I feel like it was neck and neck to me. I think it was justified if they had sent either one of them home. So I was kind of assuming almost that they would have sent Kahana home, but again, I just didn't put too much thought into it. So then when Kandy won, I had about 3 seconds to think about it, and I'm looking at the bottom 2, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Candy's not sending Kahana home. Like, literally, as Rue is going through it and talking about it, like, with great power comes great responsibility, I'm like, there's no way that Kandy is going to send Kahana home. And then she pulls James's lipstick, and I'm up running like, yes, that is the decision we needed, the anticipation we needed, the surprise we needed, the episode that we needed. Like, Kandy, this was her episode, okay? Like, she did everything right. I have no notes. I'm sorry, James, but I think that it's fair that you went home. You're not, in my opinion, you're not giving what you're capable of giving. I don't feel that way. I feel like James was not trying as hard as James possibly could. So I agree with the decision. And then even more gag, as I'm watching Untucked, all the girls voted for James to go. So James was going home regardless. And I know that there's a big debate of like, well, she's big competition, so they voted her out. That could also be true. I think potentially James could have come up and done better. But we're halfway through the season, and James has kind of been giving me a coaster. Like, put your drink on her. Like, she's not trying as hard as she possibly can. So is she competition? Yeah, but also she's not really giving. Is she gonna be more competition than Kahana? I think so, potentially, but she's not giving. I think Kahana is exciting me a lot more than James is, which is a gag. So I agree, and she had to go home. I really enjoyed this episode. This was the one. Like, they ate this. Now I'm excited to watch the show. I think it's a gag though that next episode is another acting challenge like Kahana said, because I'm like, damn, now Kahana stayed again just to go home. But maybe I'm gonna eat my words. So I hope that she leans in and she really does what she needs to do next episode. And I'm gonna see y'all next time.